Okay, so this is part 2, so let's just get right to it. What we're doing is we're simplifying complex fractions. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the easiest way to possibly do this, and hopefully it won't be too bad. We'll see. So what I want you to do is you want to go through this the same way you did the other ones. You always want to factor everything as much as possible, especially the bottom ones. So on this, I'm going to rewrite it as 2 over x plus 3 over x minus 1, because nothing here can be factored. And on the bottom, we have 1 over, and this can be factored. We can factor out a 2. And it'll become x minus 1. So what's going to happen from here is, and this is actually pretty straightforward, we're going to find the LCM again, the least common multiple, the same way we did before. Look at the bottom, and you only want to write down what we, one time. We don't want to repeat anything. So we have a 2, we have an x, and we have an x minus 1. But we don't need to write the x minus 1 twice. We're just going to write it once. So here's our least common multiple. So now here's what we're going to do. We're just simply going to multiply both the top and the bottom by our least common multiple. And what happens is actually pretty cool. It's kind of weird how this works out. So remember, because we're multiplying the top by it, we're multiplying the top. And then on the bottom, we're multiplying the top. So anytime we multiply by something that's not a fraction, remember, it always just goes and multiplies by the top. So watch what happens when we do this. It looks like this. Scroll down here. When we multiply the top, and it's going to be each one separately, this is going to be 4x, x minus 1, over x plus 6x, x minus 1 over x minus 1 divided by, and then again it's going to be 2x, x minus 1 times 1, so that'll just be rewritten 2x, x minus 1 over 2 and x minus 1. So what you should notice, and this is what I'm hoping you get out of this, is we can cancel every bottom portion out now. X cancels out with x minus 1 cancels out with x minus 1, and the 2 and the x minus 1 cancel out together. So now we literally only have to write what's left. So we have a 4x minus 1, or sorry, 4x minus 4. So what I'm doing is I'm now multiplying 4 times x, 4 times negative 1. So this ends up being 4x minus 4 plus, the only thing that's left is 6x. That's the top. And on the bottom, the only thing that's left is x. So when we combine everything on the top, we have 4x plus 6x is 10x. So you have 10x minus 4 over x. And that is done. So hopefully that's not as bad as it may seem. Remember, what you're doing is you're finding the least common multiple. Well, you factor first. Then you find the least common multiple, and then you multiply both top and bottom to help you cancel out every bottom that you have, and then whatever you're left with is what you have. And then you're done. Okay, try this one on your own. Now, what I want to do is give you a heads up. You don't have to factor anything here, but please remember that when you're doing your LCM, and I will go through this first with you, your LCM is going to be every individual factor. So we have 2x and we have x squared, but remember, we don't need an x and an x squared. We only need the highest power that we have. So technically our LCM here is just 2x squared. Okay? So it's just 2x squared. We don't need to rewrite this x because x is already written in x squared. Okay? It's the highest power. We don't need to write both the x and the x squared. So your LCM here will be 2x squared. So start off with that and do the same thing we did before. Okay? And then hit play when you're ready. Okay, so now we have our LCM is 2x squared, so therefore we're multiplying the top and the bottom by 2x squared. So now what happens is we're just multiplying straight across the top. 2x squared times 5 is 10x squared, 2x squared times 7 is 14x squared, 2x squared times 3 is 6x squared, and 2x squared times 1 is 2x squared. And then what we do is we just go through and cancel whatever we can out. 10 divided by 2 is 5. X squared divided by x is x. 14x squared divided by x squared. The x squareds cancel out. We're just left with 14. On the bottom, x squareds cancel out. We're just left with 6. Over here, 2 divided by 2 is just 1, and x squared divided by x is x. And literally, that's our answer. We can't get any simpler than that. Okay, so we can't do anything else to make that more simplified. So I hope that that made sense. I hope that you were able to get through this a little bit. We will be working on this for a day or two, so just make sure that you ask the questions on your quiz, on your Edmodo quiz. Don't forget to take it. See you guys.